Disney is being sued for the movie Moana again. And I say again because Disney has now been sued at least twice by this same man for the Moana franchise. If you don't know what I'm talking about, Disney is like a huge company that creates movies and they have a huge theme park and they just are all in the TV industry and they are kind of big conglomerates and taking over making movies. And allegedly, according to this plaintiff, they also steal ideas and then make it into these super huge franchises and do not give the person who actually created it the credit for creating it. Moana is a movie based on Polynesian themes, no, not themes, but their culture. And this plaintiff is saying he wrote Moana and he presented it to someone who worked at Disney. And they said, oh, yeah, we're going to show it to Disney. And then they never showed it to Disney. And you may be asking, okay, if they sued him once, why are they suing him, or why is he suing them again? He sued back in 2020 for the original Moana, which in my opinion kind of related more to what he's saying his story was related to. But there are some kind of general themes that are probably just known within the Polynesian culture that he may not be able to survive on. But anyways, it goes. In 2020, he sued them based on Moana 1. And then it got dismissed on summary judgment because he sued outside of the statute of limitations, because he's suing under copyright law. He has 3 years to bring the claim of when he first found out that these people stole this movie from him. Y'all, this spans all the way back from like the 2000s. I'm saying the 2000s. We're still in the 2000s, but the early 2000s, it spans all the way back to there. And then this movie, I think the original Moana came out in 2015, and then he sued in 2020. So he was beyond the statute of limitations. But lucky for him, Disney was still behind the scenes creating yet another Moana movie. And he took this as his opportunity to sue Disney again, hoping that he's going to succeed. Now, he's saying that the court said something in the 2020 case that I don't think they quite said, but it sounds like we are going to find out what his reasoning is and the fact that he really thinks that he can win based on his allegations. And y'all got to let me know whether these are more like generic themes, or do you think these are things that this plaintiff could potentially win on? Let me know if you guys heard about the case. Let me know what you think. I have not seen Moana 2. I've watched Moana 1 a couple of times. I like Moana, but it is very interesting that this guy is claiming that Disney stole it from them. But are we surprised is the question. Y'all let me know. Y'all know we are streaming live today. It's Friday. So if you are not here on Friday at 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, then you are watching on the replay, and you can go ahead and drop your comments down in the comment section. If you're on the live, make sure you are dropping your comments and your thoughts in the chat session. I do not have anybody backstage with me, so we are going to be trying to get through the comments as we go, or not as we go. We'll get to them at the end, but I'll try to talk about the things that are relevant to the case. So hello and welcome to everyone that is in the live stream. Let's go ahead and jump right into the lawsuit. Y'all, I felt like I was rambling. I did not mean for that intro to be that long, but nonetheless, here we are. Let's go ahead and jump into Disney being sued for the second time by the same plaintiff. I didn't know about the first lawsuit, and then I found out about this one. And in the vote, I posted a poll last night, and y'all wanted to cover this case, so that's what we're doing. We're covering this case. So we have Mr. Buck Woodall, interesting name, is suing Walt Disney Company, Walt Disney Pictures, Walt Disney Pictures and Television, Walt Disney Television Animation, and Walt Disney Animation Studio. So we got a couple of Walt Disney companies that are being sued in just this one complaint, which this plaintiff is going to bring up a problem in identifying who the heck is doing this to him, because Disney owns so many companies, which is crazy, but you know, they have to hide within their structure so that they can't get sued, right? Okay, and then they are suing for copyright infringement, continuing copyright infringement. Remember, I said he already sued them in 2020, couldn't go forward because of summary judgment because he didn't meet the statute of limitations. Now he's right on the statute of limitations neck because they released Moana 2 in November of 2024, and he is suing this month, okay? He is not missing his opportunity to sue them again. They playing with his money is what my guy is saying. Willful copyright infringement, injunctive relief for willful and continuing copyright infringement. So, in short, he is saying that Disney stole the themes, the whole movie, essentially. His whole story, he is claiming that Walt Disney stole from him. This is a complaint, and they are going to be requesting a jury trial. So I wonder if this ever makes it to trial. The first lawsuit did not make it to trial. I'm not going to go over all of the entities that they're suing because they're all like Walt Disney companies. And basically he calls them out for potentially like having shell companies or making it hard that he cannot determine who to sue because they have all of these entities and they're basically trying to hide the hand. And that way it makes it hard for him to do discovery because they may be sending discovery requests to the wrong company, which results in them wasting time, wasting money, wasting effort. So they call Disney out for this and say, this is why y'all getting sued. This is why y'all getting sued. Okay. Let's get into the facts. Where are the facts? The whole intro is like 9 pages, y'all. So I'm trying to get through that so that we can get into the facts. And they are suing them jointly and severally liable. So either all of the companies are going to be responsible or just one of the Disney companies is going to be responsible. So this guy says, he says, this case arises from a 2-decade-long scheme masterminded by Marchik, but ultimately joined in with malice and for profit by all defendants pursuant to the aforementioned conspiracy described in this complaint. The scheme started out as a plan by Marchik. And so Marchik is basically, I forgot to explain to y'all, I don't remember seeing her name in the defendant list, but Marchik is basically someone that works for Disney and kind of scouts talent out for Disney. I forget what her actual title is, but she scouts talent, she finds stories, and then she presents them. At first, she was working for a smaller independent company, and then eventually she got hired at Disney. And so essentially, this plaintiff was working with Marchik saying, hey, look, I have this wonderful story. Marchik is saying, I'm going to show it to Disney, and then it gets all jumbled from there. So let's see what's going on. That's who Marchik is. I hope I'm saying it right, but if I'm not, it is what it is, okay? The scheme started out as a plan by Marchik to support her thirst to gain success in her desired career in the movie industry, coming in salty. Can we say that? They are coming in a bit aggressive. At all costs by working with the defendants to steal all the components of plaintiff's copyrighted material, and that term is defined in this complaint. This theft resulted in what would eventually become one of the most unique and profitable animated films franchises in motion picture history, revolving around plaintiff's copyrighted material and directly resulting in Disney's franchise known as Moana. The core of the entire Moana franchise is plaintiff's copyrighted material. The Moana franchise resulted in the motion picture Moana 1, which Disney ultimately produced and released theatrically in November 2016, and then resulted in the distribution of Moana 1 into secondary markets throughout 2017 and 2018, including home distribution. And the franchise then most recently resulted in a sequel called Moana 2, released within 30 days of filing this complaint. This Moana franchise, which was developed off the back of plaintiff's copyrighted material, and while the plaintiffs intentionally stole and utilized these copyrighted materials, acting as if the defendants themselves owned them, has garnered the defendant more than $10 billion in profit as of the date of filing this complaint. $10 million off of Moana. Now, I like Moana, and Moana is everywhere. So I'm not surprised that it has brought in $10 billion over the last, almost 9 years. I can't even believe Moana has been out for that long, but it has brought in $10 billion. And this plaintiff is saying, I want a piece of it because y'all stole my story. Let's get more into it. The theft scheme has now been largely admitted to by defendants in the pending case styled Buck Waddle versus, or Waddle, is his name Waddle versus Walt Disney Company in the 2020 case. They're going to refer to that as Woodle. Let's call him Woodle versus Disney One, for example, in Woodle versus Disney One. While dismissing some defendants on statute of limitation grounds solely involving the 2016 theatrical release of Moana, this court found as a matter of law that defendant Jenny Marchik, who had received plaintiff's copyrighted material in confidence from plaintiffs nearly 20 years ago, admitted under oath that she, Marchik, provided the copyrighted materials to an individual at Disney Animation TV prior to beginning of the development of the 2017 Moana motion picture. The court also found triable issues of fact regarding both substantial similarity and striking similarities between plaintiff's copyrighted material on the one hand and Moana 1 on the other hand. Now, I've been misspeaking this entire stream already. I thought that the entire complaint got thrown out in the first one because of statute of limitations, but it sounds like it only got thrown out in respect to certain defendants regarding the statute of limitations. So I'm going to have to go look and be all nosy about what's going on in this 2020 case because I thought it was all the way thrown out. This is streaming live, y'all. Streaming live, finding things out as I go. Although the defendants were subject to 2 of the court's orders in Woodall versus Disney 1, compelling defendants to produce all materials involving or relating to the character named Moana. And although the defendants stipulated before this court on August 22nd, 2023, to produce all such materials, the defendants and each of them defrauded this court and violated the 2 orders of this court by suppressing hundreds of thousands of pages of responsive material regarding the character Moana's development in connection with a brand new motion picture called Moana 2, which film was theatrically released on November 26, 2024. At the time, the defendants intentionally defrauded plaintiff and this court while knowing that the responsive documentation it was secreting utilized all of plaintiff's copyrighted material, and defendants repeatedly represented that they had produced all responsive documents regarding the character of Moana when in truth and in fact they knew that they were secretly developing images and documents daily that were continuing to infringe upon plaintiff's copyrighted material. According to proof, the foregoing illegal conduct by defendants has been identical to the willful plan of infringement that they have utilized for the past 2 decades regarding plaintiff's copyrighted material in launching the Moana franchise. The foregoing fraud on this court by the defendants resulted from the defendants' willfully malicious motives, according to proof, leading to enhanced damages pursuant to applicable law. Now, what I have to say about Disney and these allegations, remember, this is just a complaint. Nothing has been proven to be true, although this plaintiff is holding that the court has found some of the allegations true in his current lawsuit. We're going to have to dig deeper into that one. They are messy, okay? They had discovery to produce documents that had to do with Moana, but we have to remember Moana 2 was not out by the time they were sued in 2020. So the plaintiff didn't even know that Disney, according to this lawsuit, didn't know that Disney was still developing a Moana 2. Like, that's nasty work to be being sued over Moana and then turn around and still be developing another Moana movie while you're actively being sued for the Moana movie. Now, I will say, it now brings to light some of the things that people were saying about the Moana 2 movie. I didn't watch the movie, but I did see a couple of people's thoughts on TikTok about what they thought about the Moana movie and how they changed the theme and they added all these new characters and they didn't like it. It didn't really flow very well, all the things, right? And I have a feeling that they did that because of this lawsuit now that I know about this lawsuit. But it's still dirty work. Very, very, very nasty, dirty work Disney is being accused of doing. We are going to jump back to my thoughts on that and how Moana 2 kind of differentiated from Moana 1. And they're kind of just, this plaintiff is basically just trying to protect themselves by suing over Moana 2. But it sounds like Moana 2 is not as similar to this plaintiff's original movie or original copyrighted material that he was suing under in the first lawsuit. So let's keep going. Plaintiff Buck G. Waddle. Buck G. Woodall. I don't know how to say his last name. Woodall now proceeds with this complaint to recover the billions of dollars of profit realized by defendants' decision to create unauthorized bit of works of the copyrighted material without permission and indeed utilizing actual malice and bad faith in violation of one of the statutes, which expressly provides that the copyright owner has the exclusive right to prepare derivative works based upon the copyrighted work. Because this court has already found as a matter of law that Woodall is the owner of the copyrighted material in Woodall versus Disney 1, plaintiff now proceeds with his causes of action for the violation of the Copyright Act and presents the following allegations. And now why I say I don't think they are completely, they're kind of misleading the court by saying the court found that the plaintiff is the owner of the copyrighted materials. That's fine, right? We believe that you created the copyrighted materials that you are saying Disney based the movie off of. But it doesn't necessarily mean that Disney actually copied them, because you can be inspired by people without copyright infringement, right? You can get the same idea of like, oh, wow, a Polynesian movie would be good. And that's where we're going to get into whether y'all think that these elements that he is describing is unique to his story, or whether someone else who has been involved in Polynesian culture or in their, I guess, yeah, their culture, if they could have come up with similar things as this guy came up with. Y'all let me know. We'll get into that in just a moment. Let's go ahead and jump into the allegations common to all of the counts in the complaint. So let me have this and make it bigger. Okay, Disney's Moana 1 was produced in the wake of Woodall's delivery to the defendants of virtually all constituent parts necessary for its development and production after more than 17 years of inspiration and work on his animated film project, with titles over the years ranging from Bucky to Bucky the Wave Warrior. So his person is called Bucky, not Moana. So let's get that clear. He made a story about Bucky. He's saying that Bucky is basically Moana, but Disney just put their own little name on it that they thought would sell better. Because, I mean, Bucky, and then I guess the guy's name is Bucky. So I wonder if his character is a guy because he's a guy. And is he saying that he's the one on the adventure? I don't know. But this is one thing about being an artist that I don't know if I can get behind. He worked on this film for 17 years just to have someone steal it from him. And it's still not that big. Because I don't know, has anyone heard about Bucky and Bucky the Wave Warrior? I know a lot of people in the comments have heard about Moana, even if you haven't watched the movie, but Bucky the Wave Warrior, I've never heard about Bucky. But working on something for 17 years is insane to me. I'd be tired of cases that take 6 months. Okay? This project was inspired by Woodall's unique exposure to Polynesian culture, including living on Hanalei Bay for approximately a decade, as well as his expenditure of more than $500,000 in personally creating, writing, and developing a theatrical motion picture package associated with Bucky. Spending $500,000 on something. Oh, I couldn't even imagine. But it's been 17 years. So I guess that's not a super crazy number, right? Woodall's purpose in constructing the package was to gear it towards presentation to major constituents and distributors within the animated movie industry. What Woodall ultimately developed included major and unique things, a complete screenplay, distinctive character development and illustrations, as well as comprehensive budgets for an animated film that was extraordinarily singular in plot, sequence of events, themes, dialogue, mood and pace, settings, and characters. All of these features developed by Woodall with respect to Bucky were qualitatively and quantitatively unique and distinct, are referred to in this complaint as the presentation package, and are comprised substantially of the materials, a true and correct copy of which is appended hereto to Exhibit A. And you know what they didn't give us? Exhibit A. They do not want us to see his copyrighted materials. So I don't even know like if these drawings or this motion picture actually look anything like Moana. They did not give that to us. They only gave us like the registrations to the copyright. So that's boring. I want to see what this movie looks like. I wonder if we can look up Bucky and the Wild Waves or whatever it was called. Can we look it up? We probably can. I might look it up later. Not on the stream though. Well, he might get me for copyright next. No. So they didn't show us what it was. And essentially, like I said, this plaintiff was talking to Marchik, and Marchek was leading him on. So he kept developing and producing, and we're going to get into it. He kept developing and producing things for this movie, thinking that he was going to be a big writer on the Disney version of the movie. And it was basically just stolen from under him after he spent $500,000, according to him. In addition to registering both Bucky and the presentation package with the Writer Guild of America, as is customary for professional writers in the motion picture industry, portions of the presentation package were also granted federal copyright protection by the United States Patent and Trademark Office in 2004 and updated in 2014. So he has been working on this for a really long time, guys. containing approximately 203 pages of material. This court has already ruled as a matter of law that plaintiff indeed owns all of the copyrighted materials, true and correct copies of which are collectively appended hereto as Exhibit B and are referred to in this complaint as copyrighted materials. The copyrighted materials also include a trailer Woodall delivered to Disney entities, which is copyrighted and owned by Woodall and has been infringed on in connection with defendant's conspiracy to publish portions of its Moana franchise, including the motion picture known as Moana 2. So he is getting into the fact that he sent it to Disney. So they seen it. They got it from somewhere, and they all of a sudden got inspired. But were they too inspired by the things that Woodall put out? Woodall initially began interactions with Marchick regarding Bucky in the early 2000s. Woodall was always careful to protect his ownership over all of his intellectual property, trade secret ideas, and materials developed pursuant thereto, including but not limited to all elements of the presentation package. I'm going to let y'all know where he messed up now. From the first time he shared his copyrighted material with Marchick, Woodall insisted that Marchick commit to maintain the materials in confidence, and Marchick consented to do so. Where is he messing up? He said, Marchick, please keep this confidential. He didn't, according to this, he didn't have her sign an NDA. You got to have him sign an NDA, Bucky or Buck Woodall. You should have had her sign an NDA. Just saying, hey, please promise not to share this. You don't have any protection. Yeah, well, you have copyright protection, sure. But she didn't sign on not to share it with people. She didn't sign on to that. So they might have been inspired by your ideas because you were freely giving it to people, asking them to promise you not to share it, and then they shared it. And now we are going to be in a position of whether the Moana movie is close enough to the Bucky movie or materials, right? Plaintiff's filing with the Copyright Office were done in order to assure his ultimate protection under his copyrighted material, regardless of anyone's nefarious intentions towards what had become his life's work. If you are a writer and you're registering these materials with everywhere you need to register it with, you registered it with the Copyright Office, you registered it with the Writers Guild, but you didn't have her sign an NDA? Come on, dude. Not blaming him, but kind of blaming him, right? From and after October 2003, Woodall provided in confidence to Marchick extremely large quantities of intellectual property and trade secrets associated with Bucky. I thought you said you worked hard to keep it a secret. No NDA still? He has not mentioned an NDA at all. At all times thereafter, and totally ignorant of Marchick's and the defendant's fraudulent scheme set forth in this complaint, Woodall reasonably believed Marchick to be acting in good faith and respecting the ownership by Woodall of his intellectual property and trade secrets associated with Bucky. Are we surprised that a large company like Disney allegedly stole these works? I'm not, okay? And I like Disney a lot. Okay. In or about January of 2005, following Marchick's prodding of Woodall and to deliver more materials regarding Bucky and her repeated assurances that she could and would assist in commercializing the film, Woodall completed all or substantially all of the content of what is attached here to as Exhibit A, which they did not show us, as the presentation package, and delivered it to Marchick at Medivale's offices located within the Disney studio facilities in Burbank, California. Now, what are we walking into? Okay. We got him claiming he is the copyright owner, but he is also admitting in this complaint that he developed a lot of the material at the direction of Marchick. So is this going to fall into the work product of Marchick or the work product of Disney, making them the actual copyright holders? Questions that need answers. Because if you're hired, maybe he wasn't hired, but if you're hired or you're contacted by someone to make a work and you do that work for them, they're the copyright owners, not you. So I would love to see what Disney's argument is regarding that. He's saying that Marchick admitted to stuff. He's admitting that he did some of this work at the direction of Marchick. there could possibly be an argument that they worked on this together, or that Marchik is just the full copyright owner versus him, and his copyright can be invalidated. That is interesting. Okay. So Marchik was employed at the time by Medaville, which had a first look deal with Disney, which is a favored and highly sought after relationship from the standpoint of an independent producer for the possible production and distribution of a theatrical feature product by a major studio. At the meeting, Marchik told Woodall in words of substance that she would get the presentation package to the right people. So she's promising you a lot of things, and you haven't seen any payback for it. After Marchik's review of the presentation package shortly following the January 2005 meeting, Marchik prodded Woodall to produce and provide to Medaville an animated trailer of the presentation package by continuing to assure Woodall that Marchik could and would obtain successful commercialization of Woodall's idea. Why didn't you get a contract? Like, are we not doing contracts at this time? During the 2 years that followed this inducement, you're doing it for her. Woodall worked on and completed a comprehensive animated trailer at his own cost and expense, and Woodall then provided the trailer to Marchik and Medaville in or about the middle of 2008. This trailer is copyrighted and owned by Waddle. Where was it at? Oh, yep. And registered as copyrighted protected material pursuant to the laws of the United States of America. Later during this period, at Marchik's prodding and inducement, Woodall also provided Medaville and Marchik, in addition to an updated fully animated concept trailer with storyboards on a DVD, which at the time contained background image reference, story development, character illustrations, executive summaries, and other constituents to develop the film. Now, you are telling me again, there are still no contracts going back and forth? You're spending $500,000 developing a movie and you don't have a contract? At the point where she started asking you to produce more things, make this story for me, you should have been asking for a contract. And you should have been having her sign an NDA. All of this, from 2003 to 2008, you're dealing with this lady and there's no contracts. I can't get behind you on that, Woodall. I think you made a lot of mistakes here. Based upon Marchik's continuing fraud, deceit, and fraud, you blaming them, but you made some dumb moves, man. Okay? Continuing fraud, deceit, and prodding him to deliver script materials, you shouldn't have done it then. Woodall then worked on completing his script for a submission to Marchik. Because of the intimate association with Disney regarding the development of the project, Woodall was assisted by Kurt Weldon, a writer affiliated with Disney, in completing the animated trailer. Dude! Disney's gonna be the owner. Disney's gonna be the owner! You worked with one of his writers? I read this yesterday, y'all, but this stuff wasn't popping out to me. Because I'm now getting mad at the plaintiff. Like, what are you talking about? Oh my gosh. A writer affiliated with Disney in completing the animated trailer, always vigorous in protecting his intellectual property and trade secrets associated with Bucky. No, you wasn't. Because you didn't have him sign an NDA. Woodall required Weldon to sign. Now, okay, here we are. Woodall required Weldon to also sign a confidentiality agreement before providing Weldon with access to and the right to work on the Bucky script. So there you go. He has the confidentiality agreement. He can't tell people about it. But is it Disney still? Because you're working with Disney's writer. Weldon signed the confidentiality agreement and provided it to Woodall through Buck Creations Multimedia on November 18, 2016. I want to see the contract after Woodall and Weldon completed the final draft script in July 2011. Woodall sent Marchik a copy of it while she was then working as a consultant for original movies at Disney. Unbeknownst to Woodall at the time, the script Marchik prodded Woodall to complete was virtually the final cog in the defendant's conspirational, I never read that word before, conspirational machinery of the stealing of Bucky and development of Moana. I blame you. Plaintiff. During this period, Marchik secretly provided the copyrighted material to the Disney defendants. On the eve of the release of Moana 1, Marchik told Plaintiff that she was unaware of whether the copyrighted material were ever provided to anyone, and indeed Marchik claimed in writing that she was unsure whether these materials ever made it beyond her desk. Now that seems nefarious. She's talking about, you know what? I don't know if I ever gave it to the higher ups. 4 years later, Moana. 4 years later, Moana comes out. That part, in my opinion, is nefarious, but I think he's dumb for not getting things signed. Okay. Marchik representation to Woodall is, in this regard, was knowingly false at the time it was made and was insinuated by Marchik in order to protect the defendant's desire to exploit a franchise surrounding their theft of the copyrighted material. I can agree with him on that, because had she told him, oh yeah, the higher ups are looking at it, he might have been more proactive in trying to get in the room with the people that were thinking about producing it. And at this point, it sounds like Disney was already developing it at the time he was like, hey, what's going on with my movie? So that's interesting. The Disney theatrical animated feature film Moana was released into theatrical distribution in November 2016, depicting similarities to the trade secrets and intellectual property of the presentation package materials that are extraordinarily stark and greater than most every reported example of copyright infringement in the U.S. history. With incredible and often breathtaking scope and breadth, the similarities in the scripts and all materials surrounding the two stories include but are not limited to the following duplications, which could not possibly have been accidental or innocent in derivation. Jeez Louise, Bree. Okay, so now we're going to jump into what he is saying is similar between his copyrighted material and the copyrighted material that Disney, or the, I guess is now copyrighted material that Disney put out in Moana. And y'all let me know whether you think that these things are similar. Just comment it in the chat, or if you're watching on the replay, make sure to comment it down in the comment section so that we can get your thoughts as well. And y'all, if y'all are watching live or on the replay and you haven't hit the like button, please do. It definitely helps me out on the channel, and I appreciate it so much. Thank you for everyone that is joining me so far. So let's go ahead and jump into what he is saying the similarities are between Moana and the Bucky copyrighted material. So both Bucky and Moana tell the story about a teenager who defies parental warnings and embarks on a dangerous voyage across Polynesian waters to save the endangered land of a Polynesian island. For me, that is every movie script ever. Sometimes it's a child, sometimes it's maybe not across Polynesian waters, right? But sometimes it's a child, sometimes it's a teenager, sometimes it's an adult. We got all of these movies that come out. We got Up. You go on a voyage to save that man's house. You got what do you call it? Frozen. They go on an adventure. She is like kind of a teenager. I think Anna is a teenager. She goes on a whole voyage to go and find her sister. I don't know. But every single Disney movie and every single child's movie and every single movie in general, someone is going on some type of voyage. So is the fact that they're traveling across Polynesian waters to save an endangered Polynesian land, is that a unique enough theme? I don't think so. I think that is a very common Disney theme and a very common theme at all. There always has to be a plot. And this is more often than not the plot in most movies. So they're saying that that's similar. So to me, I don't think that's a super big, aha, I got you. It just happens to be the same culture is what we're talking about, right? Both Bucky and Moana celebrate what the Bucky script refers to as the Polynesians people unfettered access to the sea as a native right. That in itself, to me, explains itself. The Polynesians culture, the Polynesians people, unfettered access to the sea as a native right. That to me sounds like that's just what the Polynesians believe. They have this unfettered access to the sea as a native right. Like that just honestly sounds like a theme within the culture. So anyone that wanted to write a story about Polynesian culture is probably going to include the sea at in some length, right? When we're talking about Hawaiian movies and all of those kind of things. So let's keep going. We got both Bucky and Moana involve protagonists who learn about ancient Polynesian culture through the sea voyage. Every single Disney movie ever. Tangled, Frozen, freaking Snow White, all of the movies, every single movie Disney has produced ever. The protagonist learns about what they're going after on the voyage. Might not be a sea voyage, but it is a voyage, right? Both Bucky and Moana contain a reoccurring theme of the Polynesian belief in spiritual ancestors, to wit, ancient spirits manifested as animals which guide and guard the living. That sounds like a piece of Polynesian culture to me now. Don't quote me because I haven't researched Polynesian culture, but the way that this plaintiff is describing it, it sounds like basic Polynesian culture, that they see their ancestors in animals. Both Bucky and Moana have as the backdrop an ancient Polynesian village with its inhabitants weaving baskets, fishing, pounding taro, and telling stories of ancient Polynesia. Sounds like any story. Do we need to go turn on Milan? Like, I don't know if these are unique enough. It's just that it's based on Polynesian culture. But every single other Disney movie is literally this script that they're describing to me now. I felt like when I was reading this yesterday, there was some things that were different, but I feel like I'm getting too hyped being mad at the plaintiff, and hopefully I'm not overlooking some things. Both Bucky and Moana comprise of an opening scene, which is a flight into into an island, which could, in my opinion, that could be a unique element. But we would have to look at some other movies that might have similar opening scenes where we're kind of flying in. It doesn't seem that unique in my opinion, but if we're looking at the whole picture of whether it's being copied, maybe it would have some weight to it. Both Bucky and Moana have as a part of its opening sequence, the protagonist being as a baby at the Polynesian beach facing destiny. Okay, this is where we're getting into. Now, that to me, that might be unique. We're starting off with her as a baby, and she's kind of looking into destinies. But I'm sorry, y'all, I keep referring back to Frozen. I like Frozen. I like the Frozen movie. And honestly, if we also talk about Tangled, I like Tangled a lot too. A lot of Disney's movies start out with the people being a baby, very young kids, or just kids in general. Like literally almost every Disney movie that I can think of at this point starts off with the protagonist. Will we call them the protagonists? Oh yeah, because they're the ones, that's the good one. I'm thinking antagonist. A lot of Disney movies start off with the main character being a child, much like other movies, not even children's movies. You start off with the person being a child a lot of the times, or at least being a little bit younger. So to me, that's not super unique, but maybe the whole facing the beach, flying in and facing the beach, maybe those are going to be similar elements that could hold up in court for him. Both Bucky and Moana involve a journey by the main character, which starts with a turtle. Okay, specifically using a turtle may be considered unique, but if they call in an expert on Polynesian culture and the turtles are the ones that freaking lead them, I think he might have a problem there. I don't know if that's accurate, but I'm thinking a lot of this just has to do with Polynesian themes, cultures, the culture and everything, without it necessarily being super unique by putting it in a movie format. Both Bucky and Moana involve plots where a symbolic necklace plays a special role. I think that could potentially be something that's very important. But again, Polynesian experts are gonna let us know a lot of stuff in this lawsuit, right? To say like, do they all wear necklaces? We don't know, right? But if we're looking at like Hawaii stuff, because I think Hawaii has Polynesian people, if I'm not mistaken. Don't get mad at me if I'm wrong. But they wear like the necklaces and stuff too. So to me, that doesn't sound that unique, but also I'm not an expert in Polynesian culture. Both Bucky and Moana incorporate the concept of sea navigation by the stars. I think that is just an element of navigation, period. I don't know if that even just relates to Polynesian. So I don't think that's a unique thing. Okay. Both Bucky and Moana involve a main character who specifically encounters a goddess-like creature emanating from the volcanic lava. That could be unique to the Polynesian theme, or it could be unique to to Bucky's actual story. So I would love to see how a jury would land on that. Both Bucky and Moana involve a main character who encounters a demigod with a giant hook and tattoos. Now, that in itself could be considered something that is unique to the movie, unless in the Polynesian culture there is a demigod with a hook and tattoos. I mean, I don't think the tattoos are going to be super unique in that culture, my opinion, right? But maybe the giant hook is. I don't know. We'll see. And then we got both Bucky and Moana introduce the demigod in a dark cave. That could play a huge role in whether it's substantially similar. Both Bucky and Moana involve the demigod turning into different creatures, including a Polynesian hawk and a shark. The fact that you're putting Polynesian hawk in there, that's probably something common within the Polynesian theme, but I don't know if do they already have a demigod within that culture that have all these elements? Those are the type of questions that I would have to determine whether this story is even unique at all, or is it just Disney and also this guy Buck retelling the story of Polynesian folk tales? Like, is that what they're doing? Like I said in the beginning, they both were sitting there telling Polynesian stories. Is this a version of one of the Polynesian stories? I'm starting to lean towards maybe it is just a version of a Polynesian story that Polynesians have been telling for years and years and decades and centuries. But I don't know. I'm not an expert, right? Both Bucky and Moana involve characters shape-shifting into bugs. That could be unique for the movie. Both Bucky and Moana involve the main character surviving a storm at sea. I think that is like a common, very common movie thing, but whatever. Both Bucky and Moana involve a protagonist who also faces an army of small armored warrior characters. That to me sounds like it could be something that is unique specifically to the movie. Both Bucky and Moana involve the protagonist encountering a whirlpool in the ocean. I've seen it done before, so it might be unique, but I've definitely seen something like that before, where there's a whirlpool and they have to find their way out of it and all the things, right? Both Bucky and Moana involve a giant creature that is concealed within the mountains and actually lies down and takes the mountain shape. That could be something that's unique to the story that could help prove their copyright infringement claim. Both Bucky and Moana conclude with a teenager returning as a hero to the parents on the island, having saved it from destruction. That's a basic ending, okay? That is a very predictable ending, that she would be the hero and return back to the island, and the island is now bustling, right? That is a very common ending. I don't think that one helps you out. Both Bucky and Moana contain striking similarities in the animated visual depictions used in the productions, including by way of example, the face of the goddess and the creation/lava creature, and thus a location and surroundings of the island. That could be unique, but I don't know. Like I said, a lot of this sounds to me like it's probably them both retelling a regular Polynesian folktale. Let me know. And I see a comment that sounds like Mulan. That's what I said. I was like, any one that you're going to focus on a certain culture, they all have the same things. We can even go to The Princess and the Frog. Same themes, right? She traveled across the waters. It was a river because they was in the bayou, but she traveled across water too. And now she got the new water ride at Disney. So yeah, it sounds like a basic Disney movie. But y'all let me know your thoughts on. Y'all let me know your thoughts on it. Let's jump back into it. He's then going to describe the similarities with Moana 2. So let's jump into it. In Woodwall versus Disney 1, the defendants consistently in writing on innumerable occasions and in filings before the court refused to produce any documents or information of any kind other than documents or information possessed by Walt Disney Animation Studios. This court repeatedly ordered defendants and each of them to produce all responsive documents, which included inter alia, all information and materials regarding the character Moana. This court refused to hold the defendants accountable in any way, shape, or form. Now, I think this is where they're going to lose. You are attacking the court at this point, saying they suck and they are not making the defendants comply. Make them comply. The court's not going to take very kindly to you telling them that they don't put their foot down, okay? This court refused to hold the defendants accountable in any way, shape, or form and permitted the defendants to only conduct a full search with respect to the archives of Walt Disney Animation Studios for the documents. This court made such rulings on numerous occasions, so repetitive, so to be significant in the context of any litigation, far more than simply a couple of court orders. Despite protecting the defendant's stated desire to not search for documents, however, the court was unable at summary judgment to make any ruling other than that the issues of substantial similarity, striking similarity, and access must go to the jury because they presented triable issues of fact as a matter of law. Now, I know that I just kind of struck down a lot of the things that they are saying was very similar. Maybe taken all together, it could be seen as unique, right? But also, I think if Disney, which they will, okay, if Disney gets an expert in there and says, this is the story of this particular story, the case is blown up, okay? This is just a Polynesian folktale that's being retold. Like when we see the movies, it was Percy Jackson and the whatever, the Marvel movies, taken from the comics and turning it into movies. Maybe not that simple, but just years and years of stories. Or someone making the movie about Martin Luther King Jr., right? You heard the story, you made it into a movie. No one probably has the rights to the story because it's probably an old folktale from centuries ago. That's what we might be facing here. That's what I think we're facing here. But I still think that Disney be shysty. Although the court summary judgment order in Woodall versus Disney dismissed on statute of limitation grounds all claims regarding the initial theatrical distribution of Moana 1 that took place in late 2016, plaintiff had predicted in the matter and in the operative complaint therein that the defendant intention all along was to develop a long-standing multi-billion-dollar franchise utilizing copyrighted materials. In other words, the case at bar was fully predicted by plaintiff in the operative complaint in Woodall versus Disney 1, and no judicial sanction of a party openly hiding responsive documents in the discovery can fully get around the detailed provision of the Copyright Act, including its protection of a copyright owner like plaintiff, so that his right to prepare all derivative works his right to prepare all derivative works is sacrosanct. The carefully laid plans of the defendants and others associated with Woodall versus Disney 1 have been substantially arrested by the new release of Moana 2. So let's get into what he's saying the similarities are of Moana 2 versus Moana 1. And like I said, we're going to see a lot less comparisons here. So on November 26, 2024, defendant in furtherance of their conspiracy to maximize the profits from the theft of plaintiff's copyrighted material and after suppressing the truth from the court despite multiple orders by the court compelling production after contempt proceedings and after defrauding the court by representing that all documents pertaining to the character Moana had been produced, effectuated the theatrical release of the motion picture known as Moana 2. Like I said, that's grimy. You are actively being sued for Moana in general. And then you put out Moana 2? Like, the case is still open. The case is still open. Promotional materials, trailers, and plot summaries for the film admit that the sequel continues to misappropriate plaintiff's copyrighted material, characters, and plot devices, as well as all other motives from plaintiff's copyrighted material that have been part and parcel of the Woodall versus Disney 1. Specifically, Moana 2 blatantly copies core elements of plaintiff's works, presenting strikingly similar themes, character journeys, and imagery as those set forth in the copyrighted materials. These similarities in Moana 2, which go beyond superficial resemblance and indicate direct infringement, include but are not limited to the following. Moana once again embarks on a daring voyage on the outrigger canoe, a central motive and in plaintiff's presentation package as included in the copyrighted materials. Sounds to me like Polynesian culture. They on a boat. They live on an island. What do you want them to do? Create planes? I mean, I guess they could, but this is supposed to be taking place back in the day when it's not easy access to planes. So he's mad because they're using a canoe to get across the freaking water. I don't think you went on that one, but like I said, maybe everything taken together could be considered infringement. Moana once again voyages across the vast oceanic waters accompanied by a crew mirroring Bucky's own journey in Plaintiff's copyrighted material. Who was his crew? Let us know. This time, Moana's companions on the canoe include both the pig and the rooster, an image uncannily similar to one found in Plaintiff's copyrighted materials, depicting a similar dynamic and actually representing even a more stark similarity than the infringement represented by Moana 1. Why do I have a feeling? I know what Disney's going to do. They're going to have an expert that says, this is part of this folktale. I'm sorry, Guy. I just don't think he wins on this. I don't think he wins on this. Especially if Disney can show that they did their own research. Because remember, this guy is not saying that he's Polynesian. I don't know if he is, but he's not saying that he's Polynesian. He said that he spent time on a certain island, which inspired him in writing this movie. Not that he was actually a part of the culture. It sounds to me like he is also appropriating the culture. I could be wrong. Maybe he is Polynesian. I don't know. But the way he described himself at the beginning of the lawsuit, it doesn't sound like he is Polynesian. It sounds like he went and studied abroad somewhere and then came back and tried to make this movie. So what if Disney went and did the same research? I could be wrong, y'all. I could be wrong. Maybe he is. It doesn't sound like it from the way the complaint is written, but maybe he is. Okay. Moana sets out to next thing that is similar. Moana sets out in search of an ancient and mysterious island, echoing the central quest in Plaintiff's work as protected by Plaintiff's copyrighted material. I just feel like, what else can she search for? If she lives on one island, they got to go off that island to go somewhere else. Moana undertakes a mission to break a curse directly paralleling narratives element. Sorry, y'all. Moana undertakes a mission to break a curse directly paralleling narrative elements that Plaintiff uniquely developed in his presentation package and as set forth in the copyrighted material. Who else breaks a curse? Princess Tiana. She don't want to be a frog no more. She got to break that curse. We got Anna. She went across the thing to help try to fix what's her name? What is her name? Elsa. I can't remember what the premise of the first one was. I think they were just going to try to find her. But then the other one was Anna was dying and they had to break the curse by a true love's kiss, right? Same thing in Shrek. I know Shrek is not, Shrek is Pixar, right? But either way it goes, Shrek, they had to try to save Fiona by her getting married and kissing and breaking a curse. This is literally freaking Disney's bread and butter. Is what we are describing. Is this going to be a flipped copyright infringement? Freaking Beauty and the Beast wanted to break the spell on the Beast and all the people that lived in his house. Shall we go on? Sleeping Beauty, Snow White, breaking the curse. Every single movie Disney has produced, breaking the curse. The Little Mermaid. She want to be a human. Lost her voice. Break the curse. She got to marry the dude. This is literally Disney's bread and butter based on Polynesian culture. I don't know if he wins this, y'all. I know we want to root for the underdog, but I don't know if he wins this. So she's going to break a curse. Like every single Disney movie ever. Okay? During her journey in Moana 2, Moana and her crew are sucked into a perilous whirlpool-like oceanic portal, another dramatic and unique device imagery found in Plaintiff's materials that could not possibly have been developed by chance or without malicious intentions on the part of the defendant. I don't know. They used the whirlpool in the first one. Is it common for Polynesian waters to have whirlpools? I don't know. But we would have to see what his the jury would have to see what his his copyrighted materials actually show, because he's saying it's similar, but do we know? Really? We're basing it off what he's saying. Moana and her crew experienced profound connections with their ancestors, a recurring and spiritual theme central to the plaintiff story. I don't know. It could be unique. Moana and her crew once again encountered Kakamora, a tribe of tiny armored warriors whose depiction aligned with the small warrior characters described in Plaintiff's presentation package. Now, what this is starting to make me think is that this is part of one of the folktales. These little small people, just like in Frozen, there were the little troll people. I don't know. I don't know, y'all. I don't know. To me, it sounds like a Disney movie. Ah! Oh man. I wanted to be on his side so bad. I was on his side last night. I don't know what happened. Being live is different than just reading on the couch. Moana engages in time travel both to the past and to see her ancestors, as well as to a predicted future. Moana shapeshifts several times into tiny bugs. Sound like she did that in the first movie. Moana is shown climbing a mountain as part of her journey, yet another visual and thematic element originated in Plaintiff's material. She climbed a mountain on an island. I'll tell y'all, I've been to Hawaii twice, okay? And y'all please correct me if I'm just assuming that Polynesian people also are in Hawaii, but that's what I associate it with. So maybe I'm wrong. But I hope I'm not, because I'm all on live stream saying this. There's a lot of mountains on islands with lava and volcano. When I went to Hawaii, there's a lot of mountains there. I climbed one or two. Okay, no, one. I've climbed one in Hawaii. So her climbing the mountain to me is not really unique. But like I said, maybe everything taken together is considered unique. Maybe. Give them the benefit of the doubt. Moana continues to wear the symbolic necklace central to her character and actually expands the timing and usage of the necklace, further infringing on Plaintiff's concept of a significant artifact with spiritual and narrative importance. I think that's common, especially in different cultures. Displaying and demonstrating overt defiance towards the court's jurisdiction and the Copyright Act, the defendants even installed in Moana 2 the imagery of surfing the waves, identical in motive in motive and imagery in the story depicted in Bucky the Wave Warrior. They're on an island. Do we expect them not to surf? I don't know. Maybe. In addition to the foregoing specific instances of copying, Moana 2 perpetuates the wholesale appropriation of other significant elements from Plaintiff's work, including the integration of Polynesian mythological figures into the plot, which you stole from somewhere, and they are also stealing from there as well, in ways that align with Plaintiff's specific depiction of such figures in his presentation package. The continued portrayal of the ocean as the sentient spirit, a concept distinct developed and copyrighted by Plaintiff. I don't think so. I don't think so, sir. I don't think so. I think there can be a lot of cultures that have that same sentiment. You did not come up with that. Oh, this sounds like he appropriated. I don't know. I'm gonna have to look up Buck Waddle, whatever his name is, Buck Waddle. I'm gonna have to look him up, because are we appropriating, sir? You think you created that the ocean is a sentient spirit? I don't think so. Okay. The use of shapeshifting as a recurring narrative and visual device, an idea originally and uniquely articulated in Plaintiff's work. I don't think so either. I don't think so. We shapeshift the black girl, Princess Tiana, into a frog. Okay? We turned the Beauty and the Beast into a beast. So I don't like what he's doing. I don't like what he's doing now. I'm kind of mad. The foregoing elements taken collectively represent an egregious pattern of infringement, as defendants now knowingly and willfully persist in exploiting Plaintiff's copyrighted material and intellectual property to their own financial benefit. Plaintiff has suffered and will continue to suffer irreparable harm, including loss of recognition, financial damages, and emotional toll of witnessing the systematic exploitation of his original creations. Defendant production and promotion of Moana 2 constitute ongoing acts of copyright infringement, appropriating plaintiff's original works without authorizing or compensation. That's what he wants. He wants the money, right? The defendant's inclusion into Moana 2 of the elements detailed above demonstrate deliberate and intentional copying and adaptation of plaintiff's materials. Defendants acted with full knowledge of plaintiff's right and as already explicitly set forth and demonstrated from an evidentiary standpoint in Woodall versus Disney 1. Despite this, defendants have brazenly chosen to proceed in clear defiance of their legal obligations. I do agree they was a little sketchy on not providing the information. This calculated disregard reflects an apparent belief by the defendants that their action will somehow be shielded by this court, a perception likely rooted in the history of judicial outcomes favoring Disney in Los Angeles County, California. I don't think attacking the court is going to work well for you, buddy. I don't think that's going to work that well for you. Such conduct not only underscores defendants' lack of respect for the judicial process, but also suggests an expectation of insulation from accountability, a belief that threatens the very integrity of copyright protection and the principle of fairness in this forum. Plaintiff has suffered substantial damages, including lost opportunities for financial gain, diminished value of his intellectual property, and profound reputational harm. Just as a reminder, he is suing for copyright infringement. He is also suing for a continued copyright infringement. I'm trying to get through all of them. He is also suing for willful copyright infringement. So he wants some punitive damages on that one. And then he is suing for injunctive relief for the copyright violations. Basically, they want Disney to stop producing the Moana movies because he is accusing them of copyright infringement. Now, I am not convinced. I was on his side, and I like Disney. I like Disney. I'm not going to lie. I like Disney. I was on his side. And then I reread it. I feel like when I read something the second time, a lot more things pop out to me. It sounds like appropriation from both ends. I'm going to have to go back and read who he is. But if I recall correctly, he spent some time in the Polynesian culture and decided he wanted to write a movie or a script on it. And he did. So to me, that's telling me you are not Polynesian. You are stealing from them and then trying to make it into a movie, i.e. profiting off of the Polynesian people. I don't like that for him, okay? I think where he messed up in the beginning was freaking giving all of his copyrighted material to other people and saying that he was protecting his intellectual property. But in reality, he wasn't. He had one person sign the confidentiality agreement, but that was 5-10 years down the road is when he finally pulled out a confidentiality agreement between his company and one of the writers for Disney. Not only did he never do a confidentiality agreement until 8 years after starting, or I guess it's not 8 years, maybe like 5 to 8 years after starting the development of this movie, he then turns around and produces more work at the direction of someone else. So I think he's putting himself at a little bit of liability of that he created a work product for Disney or for, Metaville, the other company that she worked for, or Martrick herself, that you created work product for them. I don't know what what contract things are necessary in order for the work to then be considered their full copyrighted material. And then, like I said, going through the similarities between the movies, it sounds like Disney's bread and butter for a movie. Someone, a princess, we're going to call him a princess, the leader. What is she? The chief's daughter, right? A princess finds something out, decides she has to save something. There's a curse. She's saving her island, saving her people. And then she saves them and she comes back and she's the hero. Frozen. We got to save Arendelle, right? That's what I got to do. Tangled. I got to get back to my kingdom. I'm the princess from the kingdom. All of the movies have a very similar theme. Not only is this Disney's bread and butter, but it sounds like the use of the animals, the use of the sea, all of those things, the demigod, all of those things seem like it's directly from Polynesian folk tales. And what Disney's going to do with all the money and all the might that they have, and potentially the culture experts that they've already hired to make these movies, because they usually do have someone on staff that is kind of like the historian of whatever they're writing into, right? They're going to have them come testify and say, this is the folktale of this. This is based on the folktale of this. And this is based on the folktale of this. So actually, we all stealing. We all stole. I don't think he wins on this. Now, the first one is going to trial for the jury because we are going to have to look at the actual elements and whether everything taken together is copyright infringement, right? Is it enough when we're talking about a movie, the similarities? To me, I think that we are going to pull out a bunch of folktales, a bunch of stories, a bunch of Polynesian stories, and then Disney's going to pull out their whole catalog of freaking children's movie and say, we do this all the time. This is what works for us. Like they say on TikTok, you find a method and you stick to it. Disney found a method and it sticks to it. There's always a curse. There's always a girl that got to save something. They always got to protect their people. And Disney's going to protect their people. I don't think he wins on this. Y'all let me know what y'all think in the comments. I really wanted to be on his side. Even though I love Disney, I really wanted to be on his side. But let's go ahead and jump into the chat. I know it's been me rambling on, so let's do it. Thank you everyone that has joined live and that has hit the like button, and everyone on the replay that has hit the like button. Appreciate you so much. I'm going to jump into the chats to see what the BriHive has to say about this case, and also to say hello to people that I didn't get to say hello to earlier. We got Nissa Howard saying hi, Bri, hello and welcome in. The first one to comment on the stream. Nice to have you back. We got Deacon Fatal, a member and moderator of the channel. Welcome back. Nice to have you in the live stream tonight, saying hi to me and chat, and also hi to Nissa. And then we got Deacon Fatal says it was a great movie. I like Moana. I think it's a good movie. Deacon Fatal says I have not heard about this case. I was surprised to see it pop up, so I had to put it on our list to try to cover tonight. Deacon Fatal says Disney is going to be Disney, and they're going to get away with it. Even if it is similar enough, they're going to get away with it because they're going to have the money to hire the people that they need to say that this is a basic story. And I think they win. They have plenty of examples of this movie produced by Disney over and over and over and over again. It works. We got to save our people. There's a curse. We got to save our people. There's a curse. I have to save my town. This is classic Disney movie. This is classic movie script. It's just classic. And they're going to have the money to pay for who they need to pay for to come in. So they're going to have a catalog of Disney's movies, and then they're going to get some Polynesian historians to come in and say, yeah, this is basic. This is a basic B film. Deacon Fatal says, I'm not sure it will make it to trial, but I can say he is wrong because Disney. Yeah, you cannot say that he's wrong because Disney. Disney's going to Disney. Deacon Fatal says, like A&R rep. I don't know what you're referring to. This was a while ago. You Stole My Story was a good horror film. I don't know if I've seen that. I don't know if you're joking with me. It says, fun fact, Johnny Depp was in the movie You Stole My Story. Oh, yeah, I don't think I've ever seen that. Yep. Patty B says, oh no, my daughter loves Moana so much. I don't think it's going to go away. Honestly, I don't think this guy wins. Patty B says, hello to Deacon Fatal. Patty B says, I hope Moana doesn't get canceled. It's not going to get canceled. This guy is trying to cancel them, or at least trying to get a check. He's at least trying to get a check. Hi to Amy Evans. Welcome in. Kiss Harris says live in the hi. Welcome in. Nice to have you back. Let's see. Kiss saying hello. Amy Evans, and I'll watch this movie eventually, but without Lynn doing the music, I'm far less excited. Oh, see, I don't even know about all of the things that play into it. I didn't even know that Moana 2 was coming out. And maybe that makes sense now. I saw no promotion about Moana 2 coming out. I just started seeing people post about it on TikTok. And I don't know if it's because I don't have kids, so I don't watch channels that would show that Moana 2 is coming out. I wouldn't be, privy to that information. But even so, I feel like I would have seen it somewhere. But the first time I heard of Moana 2 is when people were already giving their reviews on Moana 2. So I think Disney was being sneaky and not promoting the movie like that because they was going to piss this guy off. Stacy says, hi everyone, hello and welcome in. We got Deacon Phil says, I have seen this done a lot as far as the theme. It's a basic Disney theme, it's a basic movie theme altogether. Amy Evans says, guess what, everyone? I got a jury duty summons. Oh, I hope you get picked, or do you want to get picked? I'm all wishing it upon you. Deacon Fatal says, now I kind of want to see if I can find Bucky's film. Right. And so he says he has a copyright. I don't know if we can see like the actual, I haven't been on the copyrights website in so long. And normally the ones I would look up would be like paper copies. But I don't know if we go on the copyrights website, if we'll be able to see it. I'm going to look into that though for us. But I want to see the film too. And I think it's more of just like a trailer. I don't know if it's like a full on film. Deacon Fatal says to Amy Evans, I'm not sure whether to be happy for you or sad. That's what I said. I don't know. I don't know if you, okay, so happy. I hope they pick me. I hope they pick you too. I hope, just don't cite the live streams when you go there. Lawtooth in person. Yes, love that for you. Deacon Fatal says, I think the same thing happened with Aladdin. Yes, it's like, I think it's the same thing. Except in Aladdin, he had the genie, and then she was the, what you call it? I watched this movie recently. I forgot, the sorcerer was trying to take over, and then he was putting a curse on the dad and all kinds of stuff. So yeah, this is Disney's bread and butter, y'all. Deacon Vito says there was an animated movie called The Thief and the Cobbler. Never heard of that. Amy Evans says, I feel like most, if not all, Disney movies are taken from ideas like this. Yeah. I feel like now that I'm covering this, I feel like all Disney movies are rinse and repeat, and they just put different characters each time. Cheryl C says, hi everyone, I'm listening while multitasking. I am happy we are covering anything other than Baldani Lively mess. I am so over that drama this week. I haven't even seen anything on it this week, so I'm glad we're not covering it too. And people are so feisty about that case, to tell you the truth. Amy Evans says, look what they did to the brothers Grimm. Sign let's see. I don't know exactly what you're referring to there. Amy Evans says, oh, I just noticed fun nails, Brie. Oh, these nails are so overdone. Like, thank you very much. I've had them since like my birthday. So like this early December, I've had these. They're so grown out. I shouldn't show these on live stream, but they're bad. And I've like cut off the tips because they overgrown and they were breaking off. It's bad. I need to get them done, but thank you. Thank you, Deacon Fatal, for the 5 Boss Attorney Breed memberships. Definitely appreciate it. Welcome to all the members. Shout out to Deacon Fatal. Love, love, love the support. Amy Evans says, hey, yay, thanks. Became a member that quick. Shout out to Deacon Fatal. Cheryl C also saying thanks to Deacon Fatal. Shout out to you. Deacon Fatal says, so someone doesn't have a lawyer. I think he does. I think he does have a lawyer. I think he has a couple lawyers, to tell you the truth. Yeah, he does. He has several lawyers. So let's look at that. He has Elizabeth Yang of Yang Law Office. I don't know why I said it like that. That was probably doing too much. I shouldn't have said that. And then Gustavo D. Lage and L. Ad D. Botwin. Sanchez, Medina, Gonzalez, Consueta, Lage, Gomez, Machado. A lot of attorneys from there. Then we got James West Christian. And then we got Douglas E. Ed, I don't know how you say that, but he has 4 freaking attorneys. But you know what it is? They probably think Disney is going to settle so he'll get something out of it. I don't know if they're super confident that they're actually going to win. Or maybe they really haven't paid attention much. Because at first I was like, oh yeah, they got a good case. And then as I'm reading it for a second time, I'm like, I don't know about that. I really don't know about that. So interesting. We'll see how it goes. Deacon Fatal says, very stupid moves. Just Stacy says, never hand your idea over without a contract. Yes. No contracts until years later. And then you produce the work for them. I'm interested to see how Disney is going to eat this up. Like, I think they are having fun with these kind of cases. And with them being like this huge company, they're likely to win. Amy Evans says, my ideas are up for grabs. If anyone makes it, sure, no money for me, but I'd enjoy it still. Yeah. And that's one of the things that I realized in law school too. I'm like, people sue for that? People sue for that? People sue for that? Like, yeah, I mean, to me, sometimes you just have to cut your losses because the amount of energy and time and money you spend for maybe some type of credit, I don't know if it would be worth it for me. But also, I'm like not confrontational. I'm like, why are you guys arguing over that? To be an attorney and say you're not confrontational, I know is wild. But a lot of times I'm looking at clients like, are we serious right now? Are we fighting over the rate? Is that what we're fighting over today? Okay. Very special Rick we have here. Deacon Fatal says, have to get back to studies. Wish me luck. Good luck, Deacon Fatal. Thank you for stopping by and blessing us with your presence and blessing us with the memberships. Definitely appreciate it. Just Stacy says, good luck to Deacon Fatal. Amy Evans says, I want a machine that stretches you because I don't have the strength and some kind of windshield covers that makes the obnoxious blue headlights not blind. I'm so with you on that. Like, I know we're off topic, but I'm so with you on that. I already can't see. And then these lights, the headlights on the cars are getting ridiculous. They blind you. You think they got on their high beams and they don't. I'm with you on that. Elizabeth says, sounds like Mulan. Yes, all the movies, they're all the same. They're all the freaking same, right? Cheryl C says, so I believe Maui is a real Polynesian folktale character who is tricky, a shapeshifter, and carries a big hook. I remember looking it up when Moana first came out. And that sounds familiar to me. I haven't been able to look it up more recently, but that does sound familiar to me. And like I said, I think they're going to be able to come up and say, no, we all stole. We all really owe the Polynesian people reparations at this point. Is what Disney is going to have to come out and say. These are just folktales. Elizabeth says, agree with Cheryl C. Definitely heard that as well. I'm going to have to look it up. Cheryl C says, I seem to remember that Disney took liberties with Maui's background, but that he was based off a real folktale character. I feel like that is accurate. I know I'm saying I feel, and we're in court, so we can't feel things, but I feel like that is accurate, and I am going to look it up because I'm like, if this is just a normal thing, like when we're talking about the Greek gods, right? A bunch of people have made movies on different Greek gods and they depict them differently or similarly, right? Because it's just the story that's already told and they don't really stray very far away from it. So I don't know. I think it's interesting. I think it is based on real folk tales. And like I said, it sounds like everyone's extorting and appropriating the Polynesian culture, Disney and this Buck guy. Just Stacy says, yeah, a lot of this sounds very generic for an island story, boats, pirates, etc., surfing, seashells on a necklace, volcanoes, mountains. Yeah, very, very similar. Cheryl C says, isn't Shrek DreamWorks? I might be wrong about that. You're probably right. I think it is DreamWorks. I don't know where Pixar came from. I think it is. Just Stacy says, I think so to Cheryl. Elizabeth says, they found pygmy remains in Micronesia that are a couple thousand years old. So Swan Princess. Huh, interesting. I don't know if I know what you're referring to there. Cheryl C says, Brave has a curse on Mean Bear and a spell on Mom. Sleeping Beauty has a curse. Snow White has a spell. Beauty and the Beast has a curse. Frozen has a curse / spell on Anna, on him. Lots of spells and curses. It is classic Disney movie. I think Disney wins on the fact that this is literally the theme that they follow in every single movie. Every single movie has a freaking sidekick that is some type of animal, or in some instances, some type of dish. There's always a sidekick. They turn freaking Tiana into the animal, right? Hate that for her, but they did it. There's always a sidekick that is an animal that is probably a weird animal. Like Tangle had the chameleon. And freaking Frozen had the snowman and the, what is that? A reindeer. It's classic. It's classic. It's classic child movie, right? Classic Disney, classic child movie, classic. I don't think he wins. That's my Verdict. I need a little gavel. That's my verdict. I don't think he wins. I think Disney plays around with it a little bit to keep their lawyers entertained, but I don't think he wins. But y'all let me know what y'all think. That is all I have for today, y'all. Thank you for joining me this lovely Friday night. I know I've been having to cancel a lot of streams because, working and I'm tired, and we had trials and everything that are going well. So I guess that's good. The trials and the hearings are going well. So we will be back next week. I am going to try to make some shorts this weekend for the cases that I also had on doc, but don't have enough energy or time to cover this week because of my busy schedule. So I'll try to get those out over the weekend, and then I will see y'all all on the next live stream. I hope everyone enjoys their wonderful 3-day weekend if you guys are off on Monday. If not, I hope you still enjoy your weekend, and I will see y'all all on the next live stream. Bye.